Welcome to the Directing Animation Livecast with Scott Weiser. In my many years as an animator and director, my most defining projects have been my short film, Layers, along with Vanishing Ink and Cirque de Solitude, two books which I wrote, illustrated, and pitched at several studios as feature films. And I have more of these feature film pitches coming soon. Today I'm with my good friend Jalil Sadool. Jalil actually has worked as the same company as me, but at different times, and that was Rhythm and Hues, the effects company. He's also worked for Weta, DreamWorks. He created the online animation school CGTarian, which produced wonderful students who are now working in the industry. And he has co-founded the studio Steamroller Studios, which has just released the celebrated short film Spice Frontier. Hey, Jalil.
Hey, Scott.
Did I leave anything out? Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio?
No, we're good. No, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. First line of topic. Let's talk about the Spice Frontier. Talk about that project and what your experience was making that project and how it all went.
How it all went. Well, we never really planned to make a short. I think that was the funny part of it. I mean, we never planned to do anything. You know, we never planned to build a studio. You know, somebody put it in a good way. Jalil is the only person I know who woke up one morning and realized he was running a studio. And it's absolutely true. You know, we I do have a lot of students. When you ask them, what would you like to do someday? Oh, I'd like to build my own studio. And I'm like, oh my God, they don't even know like how painful that is.
Yeah,
please don't do that.
Yep.
You know, for us, it was more of a, building Steamroller was very much a matter of, well, to make the thing that we want to make, we need to bring people on board. And bringing people on board, putting them together in one room, that's called a studio. Now we need to make sure they are happy, so we need to give them benefits and time off. And all of a sudden you have a studio. Oh my God, they are angry and I don't know how to deal with this. Oh, I need an HR.
Yeah.
It's all these things that you were making up as we go. And it's only a few years in that we realize we have a studio. Let's take care of it now. Let's cherish it. Let's make sure people are happy. Let's make sure we have, a team that's producing, good quality work. So making a short was never a part of it. It's making, how many of us have tried to make a short and then realize it takes so much time, or, there's other things, life gets in the way, or, if you're not paid to do it, usually you never finish it, So it was my business partner, Adam Meyer, Adam is not from the film industry. He's been a graphic designer, owned his own company for years. And Keith and I, the other two partners, we are from the film industry. So we are more jaded when it comes to making shorts and film, and we know the difficulties. And I remember Adam said, hey, guys, we've got, at that point, we had about 25, 30 animators. And I said, we have 25, 30 animators. Why are we making just a video game? We should be making an animated short during a long time, when there is no work. And of course, Keith and I laughed. We're like, oh, Adam, you don't know how this works. But he had a great point, because it was only a couple of days later when I woke up one night and I said, he's so right. We could totally, I started brewing, I was like, we can absolutely make a short. So I called him and I said, Adam, I have got an idea. We should make a short. And he goes, well, really? So I said, I've got this idea. Let me just spend the weekend. And I said, the tough part would be convincing Keith. And he was like, all right, well, how do you want to do this? Well, let me just write something. I'll pull an animatic together. I'll just do a quick little previs. It would take me like a month to put together, and then we can pitch it to him. And Adam was like, let's do it. So I said, first, let me get the story together. So I wrote it over like a weekend, and I called Adam over. And he sat down on my couch, and I said, all right, I'm just going to read this to you. So I read it to him, and I remember him looking at me going, dude, we got something here. This is fun. I was like, all right, let's do it. But we can't tell Keith. And I was like, no, we have to tell Keith. We have to tell him that we are working on something. Are we able to? And Keith was like, as long as you guys are doing this on your own time, it doesn't, affect work time, and we're still doing what we do, I'm okay with it. So for a whole month, I was at home every night working on this little animatic. And after a month goes by, we invited Keith over. Adam and I had our suit on, and we were very
Nice.
professional. We had wine and cheese,
In
and I had
suits,
my big
wine, and
screen.
cheese.
Oh, full on! I had wine and cheese, and he sits down, and we talk to him like, offer him wine, and he goes, "Come on, guys, let's just play." And I remember when he started playing the animatic, it was all scratch audio and all that stuff. And he was the first moment when Kent, if you guys have seen the show, when Kent walks in and he turns on he opens his helmet and he starts to suffocate, and Keith chuckled. And the moment he did that, Adam and I were over the moon. We're like, oh, he laughed.
You gotta
So
laugh. That's the best reward.
he didn't say anything until the short was done. He took a sip of wine, and I'll never forget that. He took his time. Keith is a jokester, right? He took a glass of wine, and he looked at it, he goes, "All right, when do we start?" Oh my God, it was so amazing to have approval from him. And then he said, "All right, as long as we get it done within that time." And it was very much a passion project, right? And but everybody was on board because it was our own thing. We were telling our own story, and so production got started. And in the middle of the production, I said, "We are building a world here, and we need to write the whole Bible for this world." And so we started writing. And Adam was like, "Hey, we should make a book out of it." I laughed, and then a couple of days later realized he was right. So we did make a book out of it, and we're actually going to release it very soon. So we built a world, and we decided we were only going to spend about a year and a half to get it done, and which we did. And we were proud of it because it's, a lot of studios you've worked at Rhythm and Hues yourself, when I was there, they tried so hard to get a short, going, and they were never able to because of
interesting.
Yeah,
when I was there, people were trying to get a short going, but it was like, no. And then the layoffs happened, and they just bankrupted a year later. So, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's difficult to get a short going because you need the people, the time, the money, the structure, the pipeline. There's a lot of stuff. When you're busy on projects and client projects, it's hard to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But so we were lucky enough to have people. Our team were incredibly passionate about it. Honestly, you can't make a short on you. You've done it, Scott, but it's hard. I can't say you can't. I'm gonna say it's really hard to do a short on you.
It is so hard.
It's so hard to do it. But having your team, honestly, being passionate, loving it, hardworking, talented is what got Spice Frontier to be what it is. I can tell you, I had ideas, I had a vision, I had a look for it. I even saw the film before I did it. But when it came out, when the team did it, it was better. It was better than what I could have imagined. So it shows you that when you have the right people and the right, talent to do it, anything can happen. And you got to trust your team.
You really do. Yeah. And doing it with a team is so much better. It's so much more enjoyable. I'm actually going to have a guest on soon who does features on his own.
Oh my God.
That'll be in September. We'll see how that goes.
Oh my God. Wow.
And that's not something I'd want to do. It's just fascinating. It'll be interesting to talk to him because I've been through layers all on my own, and now a couple years have passed, and actually that short film is still opening doors, which is incredible to me. At the same time, I would completely rewrite it with everything I've learned since then and all the feedback that I've heard. I would completely rewrite it. So what's the future of Spice Frontier? Like, how do you feel about it? What would you like to happen with it?
Well, we as a studio, as a company, we feel we've got a really nice IP here. We feel we've got a cool world.
Yeah, it's a good IP.
The short itself shows a little bit of it. It really shows the technical ability of the studio and what we can do, but for us, we really want to move forward. I'm right now in the process of writing the script for episode 1. We've already laid out the whole series, which is the first season will be about 10 episodes. We are gunning for it as a studio. We are not waiting.
Too.
What's that?
It feels that way too. It feels like the teaser for a series. And you see these characters and you're like, I really love these characters. I want to see more of these characters. And you have very effectively set all of that up. So So we've been approached by quite a few studios, interested in it as well. So that's also in the process. So for us, we know we've got something interesting. We know we've got something that we believe in and the team believes in. And
So we are, yeah, the future is hopefully bright for Spice Frontier. Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. I want to see more of it. When I was
Well,
thinking
thank
about it
you.
the other day, now are you from India, or your family's from India, or
Yeah, my
what's?
ancestors are from India, but
Yeah,
I'm
so you've got
actually
this
from.
spice element in there that was really
Absolutely.
interesting.
I'm from an island called Mauritius,
Yeah.
and I'm like third, fourth generation,
Hmm.
Mauritian. So my grand grandfather was probably is from India, and actually some of them are actually from Burma as well.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I think talking about spice, I think for me, space, and food is such a big part of my life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself a foodie, but I am very picky with what I eat. My wife hates me for that, but I'm very, very picky. And But space is a huge part of my life. Like
Yeah.
growing up with the next generation to me was just incredible. Growing up with Jean-Luc Picard and the crew of the Enterprise,
Yeah.
and
Our brains were always in space. We're just that's where our
right,
imaginations were going.
that's where she's going. So I think when I got to the point of writing the story, I was like, what about mixing the two together, and creating a world where there is no delicious human food anymore. There are no spices from Earth anymore.
Yeah.
What would I do if I lived in a space where there were no replicators?
It'd be
When
so hard.
Star Trek, they can just replicate the food. What if I didn't have that and I had to cook Earth food, but I don't have the ingredients? I was like, oh my god, this is. What if these ingredients are, in worlds where there are monsters and creatures and it's a fantasy universe, And I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa. So that's what we built.
Yeah. Well, and back to your point of you have a great team. I can see that in the chat. Your whole studio is here.
Oh no.
Yeah, Ben Chewinka, I might have mispronounced that, said,
Yep.
"Who
But
are all these people in the chat?" And then Anka Mihai said,
Mihai,
basically all the steamrollers tuning in, LOL. And they have lots of smiley faces and hearts
hi
and
guys.
crowns and hey everybody
Oh.
from Steamroller Studios.
How did they even know this was happening? I didn't tell anyone.
Well, there was the post on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn
Oh,
mentioned
that's
me,
probably what happened.
and yeah, there's a bunch of comments on it already. And
Guys, it's your day off today. Everybody should be just going out. Go to the beach.
come on, go celebrate the fourth.
Well, actually, be
of
careful. Social
third of-
distancing.
Oh yeah,
If you're
yeah,
gonna go out, please be careful.
yeah. Well, and in the future, that's the epica. That was Portuguese. That is the the era that we're in right now. Is we've been through the pandemic. It's kind of going up and down. We're not sure if we're going to have more lockdowns and quarantines, and we also have a lot of civil unrest in the country. So that's kind of the atmosphere that we're recording this in, which is a very interesting atmosphere and a very
Yeah.
important time for storytellers to be telling stories, as truthful of stories as they can tell. So
It's difficult times, but you know what? We've been living, except for the pandemic, of course, we have been living in these difficult times. I think, we need to stand up. We need to speak about it. We need to speak about, Black Lives Matter. We need to speak about the problems that we've been going through. It's just now, being voiced, and we are seeing it via, streaming and YouTube and technology. And I think we are standing up, which I think is amazing, and we are going to speak about it, and our stories will change, and we will make sure that the next generation will learn and be better than us. I do believe our generation is better than the previous in terms of racism and all that, and I think it's gonna get better.
oh
I
yeah, in
do
terms of
definitely.
that, absolutely, we're definitely better. And yeah, can't tell you how many interesting conversations I've had the past month about this subject, and the amount of growth that comes from listening and really working to wrap your mind around the whole situation. Because in the country we have a big polarization politically, and you have all these different viewpoints, and it is very challenging to listen well enough so that you can wrap your mind around both of them without immediately like jumping on the person you don't agree with and saying, no, you're wrong. I
Yeah.
see it this way. It's like, wait, no, back up a little bit. Just listen a little bit longer, and before I'm going on a Facebook fast, but before I did that, I actually was in a conversation with a friend who had actually switched parties politically, and he's posting all these things that are interesting. He's exploring those ideas, and people on the other side are calling him a bigot and all of this stuff. It's like, oh, interesting. So I tried to get in the conversation, just start to kind of level the playing field a bit and say, hey, let's have some civil discourse. Let's not call each other names.
Listen to each other.
Yeah, let's listen. Let's talk. And unfortunately, somebody jumped in and said, no, what you said originally was good. And he's like, yeah, I know. And so I was like, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go talk to people that I know will listen, and I'm going to go listen to people who I know will talk. And
my dad told me that. He was like, do not, when you're in an argument, do not argue about politics, sports, and religion. Stay away. But you know what? We're in a different world now. I do disagree with my dad. I was like, I'm not going to argue about it, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to voice it. I'm not going to be scared to talk about it.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I run that over in my head a lot of times. I'm like, I wonder why they said that. But I think there was a day when listening wasn't as prevalent, and I hope we're getting better at it. I do.
I think we are.
I think our survival depends on it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay, we're talking about the pandemic now. You were just featured in a news article that I saw on LinkedIn, and it talked about how you have grown during the pandemic. I have as well, but that's as a freelancer with an intern. So I nearly did hire somebody, but he took the job at Microsoft. Right. Which I can't tell you. Don't take that job, take my job.
You can't fight that.
No. But it's still an interesting time. How has this unfolded for you? How have you been able to survive this time where a lot of studios have laid people off and have had to stop and halt production? Yeah,
it's a very awkward situation, and it's something that I'm very aware of and very careful to talk about it, because a lot of my friends, are getting laid off. Right. Companies that I value, companies that I respect a lot, right, are laying off. A lot of people that I know, and we are lucky, to be in where we are in the animation industry, where, especially on the cinematics or gameplay side of things for video games, people staying at home during the pandemic want to play more Fortnite. They want to play more video games. They want to play more Dauntless, and the needs for animation grows. Especially that you can animate. You can animate a performance staying at home, but you can't be on set shooting a live action film. Right. So the animation industry is probably healthier, at this point, or healthy or surviving better than other studios.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hate the sound of saying we benefited from it, but I think we were lucky to and also we were able to bring some of these people that lost their jobs. We were able to bring some of them here, with us, and hopefully, stay with us for a while.
Yeah, that's great, and I like the differentiation between benefited and the fortunate circumstances that you find yourself in. And it's not just a fortunate circumstances for you to line your own pockets. It's a fortunate circumstance where you can actually bring people into what you're doing, and they can continue to learn and to grow, and that's the whole point of this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were extremely scared to work from home because of our clients and the security of these projects, and we were terrified of it. But let me tell you, my pipeline team was incredible. Like, I was terrified, but I remember.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I remember George looking at me going, "We got to do this, Jalil. We're gonna do it, and it's gonna be good." And I'm like, "Oh my God, George, moving almost 100 people, from a studio, to go work from home." He goes, "Well, we're gonna figure this out." And I'm telling you, within a week and a half, the pipeline team, I remember seeing them running from the office to the computers, moving and packing everything, encrypting every single computer over the weekend. And, every animator would come in the morning, pick up the computer, go home. Everything is going through the server. Everything was secured. And it was beautiful to watch it happen. Go, oh, my God, this is actually working. Yeah. So now it's opened up, for us in terms of trusting a bit more that our pipeline can work, with remote, with a big remote team. And it's actually doable. So that's going to change the industry quite a bit.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It absolutely is. Well, and my goal for quite a while has been to direct a remote animated feature. and that's what I'm still working toward. And this period of time has really been reaffirming in that way, where
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this is very possible. And that dream of, oh, you don't have to live in a place that is so the cost of living is so high. We can go anywhere, and as long as you have a strong internet connection, you can work on a high level project and kind of see the world in a way. I really hope that someday I have an employee that just travels a lot. And 1 week they're in Tennessee, the next week they're in New York, the next week they're
on a train
in
animating.
Jamaica.
On a plane. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can be anywhere, really.
Yeah. And of course you'd need even more of the right people at that point, because you need people who will, keep the secrets and make sure they're not spreading, all the news of everything around. But I trust that people can do that.
Yeah, if you have a good, hiring process, and, we do test out, when we bring someone on board, it's always, we make sure that we have reviews and all that stuff just to make sure we have the right person. And, but yeah, we've the right, you ask, it's a small industry, most people know most people. So usually when we bring someone on board, we do our research and make sure it's somebody we can trust, when we bring on board. Yeah.
And then there are people like me who tell you no.
Yes, and the people like you, Scott. I remember messaging you 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah,
I was like, Scott, you should join us. We're making this really cool short called Spice Frontier. And you were like, I don't care.
But you didn't tell me about Spice Frontier.
I'm kidding.
I wish you would have told me about that, because at the time I was making layers, right? And it's like,
that's right.
I really want to. Can I join you remotely? You're like, not quite yet. Now you would have said yes, right? But
yeah, absolutely. We were not doing remote at that time. I remember that. You know how many of my friends actually did say, if you were doing remote, I'll be able to join you. And at that time, I was like, sorry, man, we're not doing that. But today, it's all different. So all my friends listening, please call me. Stay my friend.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's fun, though. It's fun. And it's been really cool to see that Spice Frontier short come together. And again, I thought, I wish I had been working on that. And that's a great thing. I think that's a great compliment to your project.
Thank you,
Scott. To be able to hear that people wish they could have been a part of it. So yeah, awesome. So what would you say your philosophy is as a director who didn't intend on becoming a director?
Did not at all. I think, I would say my philosophy is definitely trusting in your team, and if you have the right people there, allow them to explore options, allow them to let loose. I do see a lot of directors where they have something in mind and that's it. And usually what you have in mind will not translate perfectly to the screen. And you need to be aware of this. If you are self-aware, you are going to be able to trust your team to put something on screen, and you'll be able to guide them to get it to the intent that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And, I see too many directors being way too strict about, I want this pose to be exactly like this. For me, if the intent of the performance is there, the story is working, I'm willing to let the animators or the artists explore. And I've discovered that you get actually a better product when your team is happy with what they are doing. And I would say trust in your team is the biggest part of it. When we started doing it, part of us we were going to do it more half 2D, half 3D.
Oh.
And I wanted to do
and it still kind of feels that way in a way.
It does, right. And that's yeah, exactly. And what the idea was to do it, 2D characters and 2D flat characters in Maya, similar to how South Park and some of the TV shows are being done. And it was my supervisors and leads that said, Jalil, why don't we do the characters in 3D, but the backgrounds in 2D? And then we can, to me, that's the unknown, right? I'm like, I could easily have said, well, no, we're not doing that. I'm going to go with what I know. But again, I trusted my team. I said, okay, can you guys prove to me that this is going to be the best way to go? And I remember Josiah, one of my supervisors, he worked all week trying to get this little test to show me that you can do 3D on 2D and make it look 2D. And it was around the same time the first trailer for Spider-Verse, Into Spider-Verse come out. And we were like, hey, we can totally do this. It's doable. Sony's doing it.
Yeah.
So then we went and did it. I did do a mistake there because I said, well, I am terrified of CG eyes because I know how difficult it was, when I was at DreamWorks to get good eye shape, especially on a character like Jack Frost or Hiccup. How difficult it was to get good eye shapes. I was like, guys, I would rather we stick to 2D eyes. Let's do 2D planes, 2D eyes. We have our artists build the eyes, and then we'll put them in there. And the animators were like, oh, this can be tough. I said, no, we are doing that. I should have trusted my team at that point as well. But I was like, I'm going to give you guys 3D bodies and 3D mouths, but I got to stick to the eyes in 2D. What a mistake, Scott. What a mistake.
Really? I was waiting for it to be like the greatest thing ever.
No, my God, no. It was a nightmare. Everybody was like, why do we do this? So we already remodeled all the faces to be 3D now. So we're not going to do this in 2D. Mm-hmm. So my philosophy, trust in the team. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And at that point, you didn't trust your team.
At that point, I did not. And that's the thing, right? It's and I talk about that quite a bit. If you watch Star Trek, right? I'm rewatching The Next Generation right now. So that's why, you watch how Jean-Luc Picard, how he runs the Enterprise. He's very much about ideas. He would turn around and say, I need options, thoughts. He'd always ask his team because he knows he will be able to make the decision of what's the best idea, but he trusts his team to each of them be smart enough to know what the best idea is in their field. Yeah. Then he can decide what works. And I think that's the way you run a ship. And honestly,
a ship.
Jean-Luc Picard, he's my inspiration.
It sounds like it.
And to me, he's fantastic as a leader. And every time I watch the episode, I'm like, wow, look at that decision he made. He really made sure he listens to all the options before making a decision. And I think I'm learning a lot from that. And I do try to run my ship the same way.
Yeah. You touched on a point that I think a lot about often with story and story structure and all of that, where, Jean Picard is a fictional character. And people could say, this is fiction, right?
What?
But there's truth in it. How could there be truth in fiction? But it's very true. Like this person has become very real to you and a guide to you in a way. And your directing philosophy it sounds like it's very wrapped up in things you learned from watching Jean Picard run the Starship Enterprise.
People are going to be, oh my God, I can't believe my boss he's a Star Trek, he's a Trekkie. I'm not a Trekkie. I just really like Star Trek.
Yeah. Well, you like the great story there. You haven't talked.
I do like.
You haven't spoken once about the technology, or about the
very true,
the unusual tidbits of information like the random trivia about Star Trek. You talked about the story of Jean Picard and how he's impacted you.
Absolutely, it's the characters and the relationships and the decision making, and it's about life and different races and species. A lot of it resonates with what we are going through today, and you could tell they actually fixed a lot of that in Star Trek. If we only go back, 20, 30 years and rewatch them, we're going to learn a lot from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and back on your main character. Your main character, his fascination, his obsession really is spices, right? But we can all relate to the idea of having an obsession. So even though I'm not interested now I'm interested in spices. Now that I saw your short film, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thought, about spices. But this idea of being so passionate about something that you'd be willing to risk your life to discover more about it, that's pretty moving.
Yeah, he's a character that he's discovering his humanity while he's finding these spices. A lot of people ask, well, why are they following him? What's the importance of it? But right, he is passionate about food, but humans are not regarded as the good guys in that world. They are the villains.
Yeah.
Again, we barely touch on this in the short because of course lack of time, but humans are not regarded as the good guys. So he is searching, and he was brought up by alien parents.
Okay.
So his mom and dad actually were not humans, or actually biological mom and dad were humans, but his adopted parents were not. So he grew up around prejudice, and he had a tough time growing up, right? So he's searching now for humanity and for his identity as a human, and that's why food is what is the vessel, for him to find this, to discover that.
That's really cool. And thanks for pulling the curtain back. Makes us excited to see it. Yeah, can we back up a little bit? So there's a question that I didn't ask you.
Yep.
And it just came back to my mind because, I was happy to move on, but I really would like to kind of go back just a little bit more and talk about, you leave DreamWorks. Was leaving DreamWorks to start CGTarian?
No. CGTarian was during DreamWorks.
It was during DreamWorks. So at what point do you leave and start creating your own thing?
Yeah, CGTarian was again my first endeavor in building something, building a studio, and it was incredibly fun, and my partner was fun to work with, especially at the very beginning of the project. And I think as I was very much in that searching for something different, because I think DreamWorks was my dream job. I said after Weta, there's only one place I want to go, and that's DreamWorks. And already being at DreamWorks and working on Rise of the Guardians was such a difficult project for me. It was emotionally draining. And after Rise of the Guardians, I said, this is it. I don't think I'll ever do anything else. I don't think I'm ready for any more feature animation. When Dragons 2 happened, it was like a calling. When I saw these dragons, I was like, how can I say no to How to Train Your Dragon 2? And so I was lucky, to be working with the team on Dragons 2 and the people there, and it brought me back. I got this enjoyment again for animating on Dragons 2. But again, at that point, it was too late. There was this thing in me that said, you want to tell your own stories. There's something else out there. And it was, so CJ was happening regardless. We really wanted to this teaching thing in us. We want to share what we learn and what we know. And of course, there's money in schools. There's always that angle as well. But it came to a point after Dragons 2 that I was like, there's something else out there for me. Mm-hmm. And at that point, Keith, my business partner, who worked with me at Weta, for 5-6 years, down in New Zealand, he came to visit me in LA, and he said, hey, I'm moving back to Florida with my best friend, Adam, and we're going to make this little game. And this game, we actually started the game together while I was still in New Zealand. It was kind of a side little project we were doing. And I was like, are you crazy? You're going to leave Weta to go back home in a garage and work on a little game? He's like, yeah, you should do it too. As usual, I laugh at it. But 7 months later, I was on my way. It's my wife and I made the decision, and we packed up everything. And I told DreamWorks, hey, I'm going to go try this thing. There's a chance it doesn't work. It doesn't work out. So maybe I'll come back for Dragons 3. And I got their blessings. They were super awesome about it. And so I took about 3 months sabbatical. They saved my spot. I was very lucky. DreamWorks saved my spot, and they were like, well, you'll come back. But then I did fly back after I decided, no, I think I'm going to stay in Florida. And I remember walking in my manager's office and said, sorry, I think I'm going to stay and do my little thing over there. It was awesome. Everybody was really happy. Simon Otto, my head of animation, did tell me years later, when I went back to visit, he's like, I really thought this little thing you were doing in Florida was going to fail, and you were just going to come back to us. That's why I said, absolutely, go do that. Then come back. But it worked out. It worked out.
That sounds familiar too. I've had a lot of people say that, like, oh, you're still going? Really? You're still kind of outside of the industry, but connected in a way, and it's still working. How in the world are you doing that?
Again, I got to say something as well, about my business partners, Adam, Adam Meyer and Keith Lackey, because they and now we have a fourth partner as well, Phil Bias. But Adam and Keith, when we started this, it's like lightning in a bottle when you get 3 people that have different ways of thinking that can actually jive if there's respect. And I think the respect that we had for each other was so strong in terms of we knew we were good at what we do, but we were good at very different things. for both of them to go, Jalil, here's the key of Steamroller. You are the person to run this place. Here you go. Was to me a sign of, oh my God, they do trust me. But
Wow.
it made me gain so much more respect for them in respecting everything they say. So
Like
yeah,
respect
it's like
generates more respect is what it
it
sounds like.
generates exactly right.
Yeah.
And they tell you after 3 years, if things are not working out in a partnership, that's the end of your endeavor. That's the end of your project or your company.
Yeah.
But after 3, 4 years, we were getting stronger. Today we are as strong as it gets as a team.
Yeah,
We
that's how it looks from the outside too. It's really impressive, really inspiring.
Yeah, and we laugh about it. We sit down, every time we hear someone else trying it, we're like, well, they're gonna have to find that lightning in a bottle. I always say they're gonna have to find an Adam and a Keith, and Adam would say they need to find a Keith and a Jalil. It's
Yeah.
it's that way, and it's awesome. And now we actually brought, we partnered with Phil Bias and we opened a technology side of the
Mhm.
studio, and partnering more. We're going more towards experiences, more like theme parks, rides and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it was awesome as well. And Phil is a similar type of, you know, brainy person who's respectful, a person who is, a hard worker. And yeah, the four of us now are just jiving. It's really cool. It's really cool. We've been doing this for what, 6 years, 7 years now. And it's
Which is
knock on
amazing.
wood. Everything
Yeah,
keeps
yeah.
going.
Yeah, that's awesome. And okay, so back on the subject of, Rise of the Guardians drained you. Just so you know, so after Rhythm and Hues, I was laid off, and then it was like every studio seemed to kind of be having layoffs, or they were picking up the people who were laid off, and I was kind of I don't want to say strung along because I have a lot of respect for the people I was talking to, but some days it did feel that way. It felt like, okay, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna get a job at this studio or a job at that studio, and then things wouldn't quite pan out, and so I was feeling really miserable. And I went and saw Rise of the Guardians, and it just relit that fire and that passion for animation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing. A project that almost killed me.
the project that
Actually
almost
brought
killed
you
you.
back.
It's because your energy was going into it, so it could come and help me.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
It's a very
you
selfish
enjoyed
thing
it.
for me to say, but perhaps a bit of that did help me. So, yeah.
Oh, but that's awesome to hear. That's really cool to hear. It was, again, it wasn't my type of a film or my type of characters, but I would say I did learn a lot on that project.
Yeah.
Some of the people I worked with on Rise, my supervisor, he taught me quite a bit, on that project. And I feel like it was difficult, it was draining, it was demanding, everybody was stressed out, but I learned so much. If I had to pick one project that I probably learned the most on, well, the two projects I feel I've learned the most would be Rise of the Guardians and The Water Horse.
Oh,
Were the
interesting.
two projects I feel I've grown the most as an artist, as an animator. I feel like I've learned a lot about staging and facial, during Rise of the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I was 3 years on Avatar, and that I wouldn't say I didn't learn a lot. I did, but I feel like Rise of the Guardians was one of the meatier projects for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we are about 7 minutes from being over, so we better ask the question that I always ask. It's called the Get Wiser moment. Someday
no.
I'll have a jingle. When I've been trying to write a jingle, but jingles are hard. They're really short. You want them to be really good, and well,
The Get Wiser. I love it.
Yeah, and the question actually used to be, it's evolved, but it used to be, what responsibility does a filmmaker have to the world culture? And everybody kept saying a very similar thing. It was truth, got to tell the truth, And now my question is, if my goal is to get the highest clarity, the highest potency of truth into a project, what approach would you recommend?
Oh my God, you put me. Can't you just send me these questions like before? Isn't there like a like a practice for that so I can think about this? You're putting me on the spot here. Well,
I'll give you a second to
Scott.
think too. You can think.
I mean,
There's nothing wrong with a pause. My intern can cut it out.
good. I mean, I think being honest has always been a big part of who I am, and growing up, being a person that is willing to not be scared about everything around you and what others are going to say.
Mm.
I think when when making a film, for me, there's a lot of norms out there. There are ways to do certain things. You look at the the Pixar way of telling stories, or Disney way of telling stories. Sometimes it does feel forced. Sometimes I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, trash talk any projects, but they're all projects talented. That you feel.
Yeah.
What's that?
Because they're amazingly talented.
Because they're amazingly talented, but they're all projects you feel they're doing this for a purpose. They're doing this to showcase a specific ethnicity. There's a thinking behind it. Let's do it because we haven't done a Black princess yet. Let's do it. Is this the right way to approach it, or are we hiding something more behind it? Why wasn't there a Black princess before, right? What is this deeper meaning that we are missing? Why does it have to be, let's do a Black princess today, then what happens next film? Why can't we do another Black princess? Why can't we have 3 Black princesses back to back?
Yeah.
Why, right? Why is there such a specific? I think we need to dig deeper into these questions, and some of these stories to me. So when we were doing Spice Frontier, I don't mean to go back to that. I wanted to do something for me, something for us, something that's enjoyable and fun.
Yeah.
I didn't care if it was a white, brown, Black character. I didn't care if all characters on that ship were white. I'm a brown guy. I don't. I would like us to be in a future where we can do something like this and not have to go, hold on, let's see, 5 characters. Okay, 1 needs to be Black, 1 needs to be an alien, 1 needs to be a woman. Is it really that we need to be thinking about? Or should it just let the story be the way it is? Again, I don't know. I might be completely wrong here, because what am I teaching my kid, if I have a film that, it's all, a specific community and not, opening it up. I don't know. You put me on the spot here, Scott, so I don't have a specific answer for you.
I was talking to somebody. I've had several conversations about race recently, right? And it was very interesting because this parent decided that they're not going to teach their child quite yet about racism because they're very, very young, and they have a friend who has very dark skin. And they treat that friend so well. They treasure that friend's friendship. And so he's like, rather than interrupt that learning, I'm just going to wait a little bit until the conversation comes up naturally, and then I will talk to my children about the history of race in the world and slavery in the world, which wasn't always based on race. Slavery wasn't. And I thought that was pretty wise. And again, maybe it's the wrong choice, but that's the choice he made because of what he saw his children were going through.
It's incredible that you're saying this now. About a few weeks ago, my wife and I had this exact same conversation. Mm-hmm. Do we tell my daughter that we are different? My daughter, all her friends are blonde, blue eyes, right? And she doesn't know yet that there is a difference, but we can already hear it. We can already start seeing, some of her friends even mentioning things sometimes. And so do you open it up? There are 2 ways you could go. Do you not speak about it? It's how you treat people around you. Mm-hmm. You can trust that your child will learn from this, because they do pick up much faster than adults do, right? Or do you actually open it up and say, hey, this person is white, this person is Black, this person is brown, and but it's fine. We are all different, but it's totally okay. Look, we love each other. Is it the way to go? Or do you not speak about it, but the danger of that is you allow the world to teach them?
I think you do, yeah.
Maybe that's dangerous, because maybe the world they are in, they could have a friend that treats them the wrong way and they despise somebody of a different ethnicity. And it's a dangerous thing. So for us, I think we're going to be open about it. We're going to talk about race, talk about color, that we look different. Oh, come on, we look different, right? We can't deny this. So
I look different than that Caucasian guy over there.
Exactly, right? So we need to make sure our kids understand it's the outer skin that's different. On the inside, we are all exactly the same. It's just the outer skin. I think if they can understand that, I think we're going to be great. I think our future is going to be really good. It's a difficult. Very difficult to approach them, especially.
It is, and so what my wife and I have done is we just have conversations about it, and my kids have been overhearing it, and then when I hear what my kid repeats, then I start to think, okay, I think I need to explain a little bit more here.
Yes.
You know?
You adapt.
Okay. Yeah. And it's kind of like a reflection of yourself as well, you know? It's like, oh, is that what you think I said? Because if that's what you think I said,
I intended.
then we need to course correct here. You know, we need to become better together. And
I absolutely believe this. I believe like our kids are teaching us as well. And we just need to guide them in this world, because I feel we should not, they are the generation that will help us, fix all the negative that's been happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest key here is just have that open dialogue. Always be saying, is there anything that concerns you right now? And listen, and never shut that off, And I think that's another, I mean, we're tying this back to filmmaking. I think that's another way to be a great filmmaker, to tell great stories, is you're constantly in that loop of, not a feedback loop where you say something into a bubble and the bubble says it back to you, but a loop where it's like, okay, I put something out there and then I see the reaction to it and I learn from it. And I'm starting to discover the truth as I write the story. And I think that's a great approach. So yeah, I really loved your answer. I know you felt put on the spot, but your answer was very insightful.
I appreciate it. So
yeah, this is the end of the show today. Is there a place that you'd like people to be able to find you?
Yeah, I'm so bad at that social media stuff.
I've put Instagram in the link. I've put the website in the link. So
I'm sure my team right now is screaming, Jalil, say this. I am going to say go to Steamroller Studios. I don't even know our Twitter or if we even have an Instagram. Or
you do
Facebook.
have an Instagram. It's in the link.
I think we have a
linked
Facebook.
In the comments.
Awesome. I think we have a Facebook account. Everybody's laughing right now. I'm not a big, I don't understand how all this works.
Yeah.
But you guys follow us. We are actually going to be opening a fan, I would say, I don't know if that's a blog or a fan base thingy for Spice Frontier. My marketing team is hating me right now for not saying the right thing, but Spice Frontier is going, and we will keep telling stories in that world. So please follow us.
Okay, and you can follow me, links in the description. And until next time, in all that you're doing and you're pursuing your learning, I hope that you get wiser. You have been watching the Directing Animation Livecast with Scott Weiser, produced by Lauren Chaikin, audio version edited by Kiera Horowitz, copyright Scott Weiser LLC 2020.